Hello and welcome to another edition of VetArtSpan. We have an opportunity to continue our conversation about art therapy and art. We have a lot of folks over the past year that have talked about experiences that they have had utilizing art, veterans that have talked about how art has been an important part in their lives, how in many instances it's been life-changing for them. And we've had conversations with people from the civilian community that have talked about what it was to work with veteran artists and to create together with veteran artists. And there's been sort of a continued conversation about, so how do you define art therapy, and what's the difference between, say, art therapy and teaching art? And we're going to have the opportunity to really delve into that much deeper by some experts. We're happy on this journey to visit the Malcom Randall Medical Center, VA Medical Center in Gainesville, Florida, and the James A. Haley VA Hospital in Tampa, Florida, talking to art therapists, music therapists, talking about even recreational therapy, and gaining a greater understanding of how do we define that? What does that mean? What's the importance of art therapy? And also the opportunity to work with artists who work alongside of and in tandem with art therapists so that we can more deeply understand as a civilian community how to create these bridges. So we're going to have some fun taking this journey together and speak to some really exciting folk. We'll have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Jeff Hopkins, who is the Chief of Recreational Therapy and Creative Therapy at James A. Haley, and a number of other amazing folk that are committed to this work. So we start out at the James A. Haley VA Hospital talking with Natalie Quintana and Marilee Jorn about art therapy.
If you put a teacher and an art therapist next to each other, both working with the client, it may look similar. However, the goal in art therapy isn't to teach somebody how to draw or how to paint. It's about using the materials in a way that is going to help them to externalize that internal experience. Let's say somebody is creating a piece and it's very disturbing to them. An art therapist will know how to take that and start making it more positive. Not that specific project, perhaps. Maybe, let's take a mask, for example. Somebody creates a mask and it's disturbing to them. It's disturbing to look at. Maybe we create a box then for that to go in so that you can put a lid on it. It can be contained. So you're now containing that emotion. But you're able to open up the box and work with it every now and then close the lid back. That may be the next step after somebody's created it.
On the music side, I'm approached quite a bit about performers, who in the hospital is interested in performing, what patients would like to perform. And performing can be very motivating, but it can be very devastating and very produce a lot of anxiety. So being able to kind of let the patient express themselves in a safe space, to borrow a phrase, is very vital. A judgment-free zone where the goal might not be to give a good performance, but the goal might be, I want to be able to express what I've written, what I've practiced on, without judgment, without critique. So it's kind of the baby steps to maybe giving a full-blown performance.
The masks are one of the first projects that we do when somebody comes in. And the reason why is because it can help with the whole evaluation process and to get to know somebody. So I ask them to think about their sense of identity or their warrior identity and to depict that through mask making. The masks help in telling the story about the person's experience. So if somebody is trying to connect more with that camaraderie or that team, if somebody is concerned about their physical injury, that might be depicted in here. If somebody has more of a psychological injury, that might be depicted through here. People have expressed themselves through these in talking about even wanting to put a shield over their face and then hide what's on the outside and then reveal what's on the inside. each session then would build upon each other, and then towards the end, again, having an evaluation of where they're at towards their goals, and then coming to a conclusion. Typically, then I'm able to say, you know what, you don't need me anymore. Send them out into the communities.
The bulk of my work is with severe traumatic brain injury. So guys who are emerging from vegetative states, comas. A good portion of what I do is working with them, and they have very different needs than someone who only has a mild traumatic brain injury. They have different needs. So it's totally dependent on the population, as well as totally dependent on their preferred genres of music. Everything I do kind of falls under the big three: listen, play, or write. I use the drumming quite a bit for gait training, so guys who are learning to walk again do fare well on drums. It's amazing that any of us can walk at all. It's falling in time. It defies physics. You can really let off a lot of steam with drumming too, so having the ability to wind down or express physical tension is a good thing to do on drumming as well.
So with this, the person created a before, during, and after, and this was during his treatment. And when he came in feeling like he was just about to crash, and while he was here, he was given the safe space to do that. And then leaving, feeling like his heart's been sewn back together. And he purposely left a blank spot over here because the future's unknown. So kind of leaving that as a blank canvas to be created.
A person can kind of become dependent on a music therapist, and we don't want that. We want to encourage them to be independent, to seek out the community. We want to encourage less reliance on therapy. The ultimate goal is independence, and I have to have a good understanding of what that looks like for a patient. Sometimes they can well exceed what I expected. Sometimes they can struggle, but we also make sure that they are supported by the community as well.
I really love working with veterans. I love being able to use music and music techniques to help address any kind of emotional needs, mental health needs, any physical issues like pain management. As you know, I'm sure with the opioid crisis, they're looking at any alternatives, and music therapy is just one of the things that they're starting to utilize because the research indicates it helps with pain perception. And so I ended up here through Creative Forces. So I was hired to help develop a telehealth protocol for music therapy, so delivering music therapy via telehealth with the veteran populations in rural areas. And so what this does is it provides the opportunity for veterans to participate in these different alternative treatments that otherwise they may not have the opportunity, because driving to the VA once a week for 6 to 8 weeks for those 50-minute sessions is just not realistic. Yeah. And so we're able to connect with them in their homes, while they're traveling, wherever it may be. It's such a great opportunity that we can provide them the treatment they need and literally meet them where they are. We have Jeff, who's here, and he has been fantastic. He was really, really hesitant about participating, doing individual therapy, but really wanted to be able to engage more in the community. And when we talk about community, oftentimes we think of outside of the VA, but really when I think of community, I'm thinking of the community here within the VA system, because a lot of veterans want to give back to veterans, right? And so I'm thinking that he wanted to give back to the veterans.
I just really like it. It's great to be able to be around the veterans, play for the veterans, and you got to see a little bit of what it was like out there. You can tell that they like it. Sometimes they're clapping their hands. Sometimes you can see their feet tapping, but they always say thank you, and it's just, just really, really nice to be able to give back. I mean, I feel that's what I'm doing. It's a way for me to give back to the people that are here.
think one of the phenomena that we're experiencing now, especially in veterans returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, I mean, so many generations of veterans involved in the veteran system, and in just, finding a way home and finding a way to really reconnect. Have you found working with some of the new younger veterans that art turns out to be an important way for them to connect?
Definitely. One young man that I talked to is married to a friend of mine she's an artist, so she got him involved in art when he came back, and he had never really done any art, and he got into pottery, and it really changed his life. People say that a lot about music. Music really helped them through. And what's interesting to me also in terms of what you're saying is that it seems like no matter what war they were in, what their race, what their ethnic background, any of that, there's just a bond. There's a really special bond that veterans have, and I just love to see that. That's really moving to me, and I think it helps because they help each other out in various ways.
We encourage veterans to come to the hospital. If nothing else, just be a volunteer.
Yeah.
That in itself is a very fulfilling thing. It gets you out of the house, it gets you around other people, and that'll do the same thing. It'll help you, build yourself back up.
Yeah.
There's really great programs that incorporate the arts and medicine. And so we have community musicians, professional musicians who come in and work with the volunteer services and provide an entertainment, provide an engagement with veterans, with different populations, and then artists who do the same thing. And so it's not quite therapy, but what it does is it changes the environment.
Yes.
It takes it from being a very clinical, sterile environment to being a more open and engaging, warming, and like I said before, it's a comforting thing.
Yeah.
We really all kind of share the same mission.
Yes.
The musicians like myself doing music as a musician in residence, not a music therapist, we don't have specific goals for specific patients.
Right.
We kind of let the patient sort of drive the interaction.
Right. Yeah.
But our mission is the same, that we want to make life better in the situation they're in. If they're in this VA hospital and they're dealing with injuries and trauma and mental issues, then how can our art help them to make them feel better?
What are a couple of important things for organizations like ours to know?
Well, I think we talked about earlier is just having an understanding of what is the veteran population. It's a completely different culture. Being active duty from being a veteran is a completely different culture. So just being open to asking questions and learning and actually listening and trying to understand. I mean, that's the biggest thing with any kind of relationship, but specifically with this population, I think it's just a willingness to be heard and feel supported no matter where they are.
The majority of the civilians don't understand veterans. They don't understand why we joined, why did we join the service? Why, when we have PTSD, why do we lash out? They just don't understand what veterans have gone through and how they can best work with veterans when they get back into the community, kind of accepting them back in the community. But this partnership with VetArtSpan it's been immensely rewarding to us here at the James A. Haley VA Medical Center. Being a disabled veteran myself, I used recreation therapy. I used adaptive sports to get me back to life, back into society, contributing member of society. It was, when I got here, learning through Natalie Quintana, our music therapist, really how music and art, how we can use that as a clinical therapy and help bring these veterans somewhat back to normal.
I think music is a gift that you give yourself.
And so our thanks to everybody that participated in this journey together, to Diane and to Kathy and to Natalie and to Marilee and to Jeff and all of the folks that worked so very, very hard to help us to understand this journey of art and how important it is in the support of our veteran community and how we really build bridges between the veteran community and the arts community to create a pathway of support, because art is so very, very important. And continue to encourage you to please visit the other elements of our VetArtSpan website. Please go and take a look at the military cultural competency curriculum, at the videos, at the podcast. This has been such an exciting journey, and I hope that you more clearly understand this pathway between the art therapy community and the art community at large. I'm Fred Johnson for VetArtSpan. Until next time, take care.